The World Juniors are back again. The best international event in hockey kicks off yet again in Sweden, featuring exceptionally talented prospects and projected top picks. Canada, for once, doesn't look like the overwhelming favorite. Teams like the US, Sweden, and Finland boast rosters as strong as ever, and will undoubtedly be among tournament finalists. Last year's silver medalist Czechia will be a threat as always, along with upsets on the cards for rising nations such as Switzerland or Slovakia. Ahead of the imminent return of one of the best events of the year, today let's take a look at World Juniors 2024 to preview and predict the outcome of the tournament. Last year's tournament champions Canada always have the burden of immense expectations. Last year's team brought us some all-time incredible moments, and it's going to be a challenge to live up to the expectations. With that said, this is still Team Canada, and they still have one of the best teams going to Sweden. Where last year's tournament was a showcase for Connor Bedard, this year's could be a showcase for Macklin Celebrini. The projected first overall pick will be a key piece of the team this year, taking up a slot as a top 6 center in Canada's high-powered offense. As an NCAA freshman, Celebrini is among top scorers in the entire league, and in order for Canada to stand a chance at winning, they'll need that production to translate over into the tournament. Some of the other notables up front are Matthew Poitras, Connor Geekie, and Jordan Dumais. Poitras, the latest and final addition to the Canadian squad, joins the team after a 27-game NHL debut stint as a member of the Boston Bruins. Connor Geekie has served as the team's top-line center or left wing in pre-tournament games, while Jordan Dumais finally cracks the squad after years of coming up just short. Den Matejchuk is maybe the most exciting name on the back end, as the 19-year-old had recorded a 23-game point streak in the WHL just before leaving for Team Canada's camp. The 2022 12th overall pick could very well make a name for himself globally at the tournament. With these guys and more, Team Canada certainly has star players. The challenges come with depth and goaltending. The forwards and defense alike lack top quality depth, and Canada's goaltending is weaker than most top teams. More than ever, Team Canada is a question mark, but they can still certainly be expected to be a force to be reckoned with. The favorites this year appear to be Team USA. The Americans are flooded with star talent, and boast strong depth in every position. Jimmy Snuggerud, Cutter Gauthier, and Rutger McGroarty all returned from last year's tournament, having scored at a point-per-game rate or higher in 2023. McGroarty will serve as team captain for the tournament, building on an excellent season so far with the University of Michigan. The famous line from the development camp last season, now all at Boston College, all make the jump to the world stage this year. Will Smith, Gabe Perreault, and Ryan Leonard will carry that chemistry over onto the national team, serving as valuable secondary scoring behind some of the returnees. With just these 6 names, the US features some of the best players in the tournament, but then they also have Lane Hudson, Oliver Moore, Seamus Casey, Frank Nazar, Gavin Brindley, and more. In the past 5 tournaments, the United States have medaled 3 times and won the gold once in 2021. Odds show the US as the favorites to capture the gold again in what would be their 6th ever tournament championship. Failing to medal, as they've done in past years, is never acceptable by USA hockey standards. This year, it would be an absolute travesty for that to happen. The US has an easier path than the other top nations, being in the group away from Canada, Sweden, and Finland. Their team is incredibly talented, and the Americans will be expecting, at minimum, to take up one of the spots in the championship game. As the host nation, Sweden gets a built-in advantage this year. The comfortability of having every game feel like home ice is something that Canada is most often the beneficiary of, but that now falls to Sweden. This year's team boasts many first-round picks and top-end talents. Tom Willander and Axel Sandin Pellikka headline one of the most dynamic defenses in the tournament. Sweden's 2023 top scorer Filip Bystedt returns for another tournament, joining returnees Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Noah Ostlund, and Liam Ogren. All four have broken into the SHL full-time this season and will be focal points of Sweden's offense. They're also backed by plenty of depth, forwards and defensemen that are excellent at both ends of the ice. The last time Sweden hosted the World Juniors was in 2014. They finished with a silver medal that year, losing in the finals to a Finland squad led by Toivo Teravainen. With the opportunity in their hands of both being at home and having a very talented squad, Sweden should be aiming to at least reach the finals and to put everything toward taking home their first gold since 2012. Finland is always a nation that gives top teams problems, and they're back again this year with another solid squad. One of the most interesting players to look out for from them will be Konsta Helenius. Helenius makes his World Juniors debut, being projected to go as high as 4th overall in the 2024 draft. He's surrounded by notable NHL drafted prospects such as Kasper Heltinen and Jani Niemen. The three will each play a key part in Finland's success. Returning goalie Niklas Kyoko didn't start any games for Finland last year, but is expected to be the starter this time around. The 19-year-old is 9th in Liga in save percentage in a backup role for 8th place Kärpät. A big loss for the Finns ahead of the tournament was an injury to Aaron Kiviharu. Kiviharu was the last-minute cut from the team last season and was expected to play a big role this year. Without his minutes, the defensive end may face a tougher challenge, but Finland remains one of the strongest teams in the tournament. They can be expected to challenge for a medal and shouldn't be overlooked as a potential underdog for the gold. Even as a well-established hockey nation, it was a bit of a surprise to see Czechia push Canada to overtime in the gold medal game last year. The nation will no doubt be itching to complete unfinished business and push back to the finals again this year. Jiri Kulich had a fantastic showing at those World Juniors with 7 goals in 7 games. He's back for his 3rd run in the tournament, after tearing apart the AHL with Buffalo's affiliate in Rochester this season. Kulich should be expected to be one of the top goal scorers again and one of the best players in the entire tournament. Edward Schalla, the 2023 20th overall pick, is also back. He'll hope to improve on his season so far with a good performance at the World Juniors. Their most exciting undrafted prospect is Adam Jiricek, brother of 2022 6th overall pick David. As the youngest player on the team, his opportunities may be a bit limited, but he'll get the chance to show off his skill set at some point. Czechia doesn't feature the same quality of depth the powerhouse nations have, but they are capable of equaling them in star power. Huge performances from the likes of Kulich, Schalla, and others like Mateusz Sapovaliev could go a long way in another surprise run for the Czechs. Last year, Slovakia had some great moments. They upset USA with a 6-3 win in their second game and managed to push Canada to overtime in the knockout rounds off the back of an excellent performance from Adam Gajan. The now Blackhawks prospect is back in net for the Slovaks this year. He was voted the best goaltender in the tournament in 2023 and will need to play at that level again for Slovakia to have success. The forward core is pretty stacked. Dalibor Dvorsky and Samuel Honzik both return, having both been drafted in the top 16 of the NHL draft this past summer. Peter Repkik and Filip Mešár shared a 3-way joint lead of scoring for Slovakia last tournament, and both are back again. The group also features Martin Misiak and Alex Siernik, now draft property of the Blackhawks and the Flyers, 2 players that some scouts were very high on in the draft. Where this team will struggle is on the defensive end, as some of Slovakia's best blue liners aged out of eligibility for this year. Whether Gajan and the forwards can do enough to get Slovakia to a medal will be the question. Some may have forgotten that Switzerland actually got 3 wins in the group stage last year. more than Slovakia and Finland, and equal to both Canada and the United States. It's going to be tough to equal that tally this year. Lian Bichelle has aged out. 2023 top scorer Attilo Biasca has aged out. With few big names on the roster, it's an opportunity for some unknown players to make a name for themselves. Switzerland will be hoping to progress past the group stage again and hopefully advance further than last year. Germany is a squad that's gotten a little bit stronger for this 2024 tournament. Their top scoring forward from last year, Roman Kester, is back. Their top scoring defenseman, Filip Bystedt, is back. Arizona's second round pick from 2022, Julian Lutz, is back. And they're joined by two new NHL drafted prospects, Kevin Bicker and Norwin Panchoa. In a group featuring Canada, Sweden, and Finland, there's likely to be some tough games ahead. They'll be hoping to reach the knockout round yet again. Latvia's captain Danslof Melis returns for his third consecutive World Juniors appearance. He tallied 3 goals in 6 games at last year's event. He'll likely be the key offensive play driver, as both of their top 2 scorers from last tournament are gone. All 3 Latvian goaltenders are playing in their first World Juniors tournament this time around. Good performances from whoever becomes the starter could lead to an upset win or two, but don't expect Latvia to do much better than a potential advancement to the knockouts. Norway is the new addition to the festivities this season, taking the place of Austria, who were relegated from last year's tournament. They're the only nation in this tournament with no NHL-affiliated prospects, but that doesn't mean they're without talent. Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard is a winger who has been ranked as high as 9th overall for the 2024 draft. He's a talent that is extremely hard to come by for a small hockey nation. Competing in the U20 top flight for the first time since 2014, Norway's expectations internally likely aren't too high. They'll be hoping to avoid relegation back to the second division. Now that we've covered each nation, it's time for the fun part. Who will win the 2024 World Junior Championship? Well, in the same way that it felt like Canada was just too good to possibly lose last year, it sort of feels that way for USA this year. They have an incredible forward group, a stacked defense, and arguably the best 2 goalies to rely on if need be. They likely won't face too much trouble in the group stage, being in the slightly easier Group B. Expect Cutter Gauthier to be in conversations as the tournament's best forward, and Lane Hudson in conversations as the best defenseman. Both of them could contend for MVP honors. Canada and Sweden should both be the biggest challengers to that gold medal. One of them should be expected to face the US in the finals depending on how the bracket shakes out. If you're more so a fan of an underdog, Slovakia seems to be a prime contender to spring a few upsets. They have an excellent goalie and excellent forward group, which should make them one of the most fun teams to watch in the entire tournament. As always, the World Juniors is going to be amazing and serve as a way to showcase many of the best young talents in hockey. We got some absolutely incredible moments from the tournament last year, as superstar talents broke records and Canada repeated as champions. Will Canada three-peat this year? Is USA Hockey simply too good to lose this time around? Is Sweden going to capture the championship on home ice? We'll get our first indications as to what it'll be when the tournament kicks off in a few short days.